The Dor Traffic Miner is doing things in crypto that nobody else is really doing. You start looking at the space and you realize that most of crypto is happening in the virtual space. In other words, you can't touch a Bitcoin, right? You can't monetize Ethereum and feel it in your hands. There's nothing in our physical world that's happening in crypto, with a few exceptions, which we'll get to. That's where the Dor Traffic Miner comes in. Constellation DAG, the company behind the Dor Traffic Miner, is bridging our physical reality with crypto. And this is the biggest thing that's happening. A lot of people seem to think that, crypto's really about the metaverse. And yes, there's a lot of plays within the metaverse, but most people are not living in the metaverse. Most people are living in our physical reality. And so where we're going to start seeing crypto going mainstream is where we interact with it. And sometimes without even knowing that we just interacted with the device. And because we did, somebody just made crypto. Somebody just made money in the form of a tokenized digital asset. That is the real bridge. The Dor Traffic Miner works very differently than other projects that have been mining crypto. So let's review Bitcoin. Bitcoin miners hook up very complicated and sophisticated computers in order to solve complex computational problems. And in reward for that, they are rewarded with Bitcoin. So Bitcoin enters circulation because people are mining it using very sophisticated computing power. And this is basically the way Ethereum works as well in its current form. This idea is called proof of work. The miners show proof of work that they solved the puzzle. The network rewards them with the coin. And this process is notorious for consuming a tremendous amount of energy and gives Bitcoin and Ethereum a very bad reputation in terms of energy consumption and carbon footprint. Moving forward, a couple years later, there was a company called Helium. Helium used a different algorithm instead of proof of work. They called it proof of coverage. And this is closer to the real world, right? Helium is a network that covers most cities on the planet, and you can look at on their website the Helium coverage map. And it is that you get a device, you buy it, and you put it in your house, and you're sending out a signal going pretty far out, like much farther than your Wi-Fi signal. And this signal it could go even up to a mile, even up to 10 miles away from their home or office, wherever they're putting it. And what it is it's serving the Internet of Things, like people with dog collars or fitness devices, garage doors. And the network is up. It's relaying a signal in exchange for giving out this signal in our physical reality, in a real utility. You are rewarded with Helium tokens. So that has been the history of crypto mining. Bitcoin and Ethereum, no intrinsic value there. There's no real utility to what's happening. Helium is closer to our physical reality. Now, the Dor Traffic Miner is even more ingenious innovation in this space. So what is the Dor Miner? The Dor Traffic Miner is placed at the top of a door in a location that has foot traffic. Now, the data that is coming out of this device is generated by the foot traffic of people walking by. This data is incredibly valuable to retail store owners. So the Dor Traffic Miner at its essence is a device that goes on the top of a door. The more foot traffic that comes through that door, the more money that you will be generating because of the data that is so valuable there. Now, data is the most valuable resource that we all give away for free every single day. Every time you click I accept cookies on a website, you've just given away data for free. Facebook, Google, all these companies, these big tech companies, they're essentially in the data business. And their products, where you're searching something on Google or you're sharing something on Facebook, you're giving away all this data for free, and they're providing a utility to you, whether it's search or whether it's a social media platform. But essentially, they're harvesting data. That's how valuable it is, that these are some of the most valuable companies on the planet. Now, the beauty of merging crypto with our physical reality is that it will birth brand new industries. Just like the internet birthed e-commerce. Nobody could even imagine that until the internet came out and it was in full swing. Crypto mining and the idea of harvesting and selling our data with our permission is far more lucrative than people realize. So let's take a step back now and look at, well, what is Dor Technologies that was acquired brilliantly by Constellation. What was their use case before Constellation walked through the door? What were they doing? Well, they were profitable, and they had a successful rollout of their devices in many retail stores. So now retail stores, their goal is really maximizing profit for anyone that walks through the door. Now, anyone with a website will tell you that who's selling something on a website, if you have 1,000 people come on your website and 10 people check out, you have a 1% conversion rate. In other words, 1% of people who visited your website have put in their credit card and purchased your product or service. Now, the data that we have on websites is incredibly advanced. We can tell how long people are on, which pages they viewed, where we lose them in the funnel. But in a physical store, nobody's really figured out how to give that data. So Dor Technologies was born by Michael Brand, the former CEO, who's now the chief product officer at Constellation, formerly worked for Apple. He's an electrical engineer. So this is a very well thought out idea, had great implementation with retail stores, because now he was providing data for them that they wouldn't have otherwise known, and they can make decisions how to maximize profits. For example, let's say they see their store gets busy between 2 and 6 p.m. on Sundays. Maybe that's the time to hire extra help so that people who walk through the door will be helped and be able to make a purchase, especially, let's say, in a high margin business like clothing stores, where 1 or 2 sales can generate a lot, can generate the payment for the staff for the whole week, so in certain high margin businesses. So it's very, very sought after data. How many people came into my store? How long did they stay for? When did they leave? So then think of it in aggregate. What if and they were dealing with chains where there's a chain of stores has 100 different stores, and they put these devices. They can have a store where there's way less foot traffic, but there's much higher conversion rate. Maybe the manager is doing something in that store that's having more people pay and convert and pull out their credit cards and say, I'll buy this. Then they can come to that manager and say, what are you doing? And they'll say, oh, well, I put this window display up and it brings more customers. Nobody knows what's working, what's not working in retail. Dor innovated in this space. And their competitors, for the most part, were using clunkier technology with cameras that was more invasive. Dor is anonymous. It doesn't know anything about you. It's counting heat waves of body signatures. It's just seeing how many people are walking in, how many people are walking out. The data is so valuable. Now that it's absorbed by Constellation, look at it through the lens of crypto. Constellation has nodes on their network, on the Hypergraph network, where if you have 250,000 DAG, you can essentially earn significant rewards, especially when mainnet 2.0 for Constellation is launching this summer of 2022, is going to generate a tremendous amount of passive income for anyone who has a node. But what if you don't have the funds to get 250,000 DAG, or you're priced out? The next best thing, in my opinion, is to get a Dor Traffic Miner device, which currently goes for $5,000. This device prints DAG. It prints the best crypto that is available in the entire space. So you're essentially buying a physical device that operates as a light node on the network that is printing DAG, printing passive income as people walk by. Now, yes, it is where are you going to put it? Can you put it in your house? Yes, you could put it in your house. And you will earn the base layer of rewards, which will be a minimum amount of DAG. And someone will buy that data. Who's going to buy the data? Who cares about your house? Well, you live in a certain zip code. What time do you leave? What time do you come in? That data is valuable to someone. And people who are very into privacy might say, oh, well, I don't feel comfortable them knowing about me. Nobody knows who you are. Nobody knows, you could decide, maybe I'll give them my address if they'll pay me $100 more a month. When you log into the dashboard, there'll be more information. If you want to supply it, you'll get more bounties. And the way bounties work is the more information you give Dor, the more money you will get. And so right now we're in a position where in Web 2, we are all giving away our data for free for big companies to make decisions, sell it to advertising companies. We don't get a piece of the action. We don't have any money from those transactions. Here, you are in your power by saying, okay, I'm putting this device in my home, I am selling my data, and I'm going to be rewarded for it in crypto. Not just any crypto, in DAG, which is the index token of the biggest data network to hit the planet since the internet came out. There is no crypto company that is even half ambitious as what DAG is. DAG is going after an $88 trillion market cap of big data on the planet. which is far bigger than anything else that's happening in crypto. You see, while the rest of the crypto space is trying to figure out how to be an Ethereum killer by raising their transactions per second and figuring out how to be a better L2 or a better layer 1, which is the irony of these Ethereum killers is that they're all dead on arrival. That they're all just trying to solve something that is inherently problematic and that doesn't really have any real utility in the real world. DAG is bridging their physical reality with crypto. And besides of everything else that it's doing on its Hypergraph network, it's presenting this opportunity for the rise of the datapreneur. Entrepreneurs who spot an opportunity will be key to zero in on this. You are mining data of people walking by, whether you cut a deal with a retail store in your area, or you have a friend or a family member who has a commercial building or someplace where you could put it there, and you will be mining that data. It is incredibly valuable. Now, taking a step back, we realize that if anyone who's ever used Google Maps, if you've ever noticed, like if you're going to a restaurant or something, they might say, this restaurant is busy between 7 and 8 p.m. on Wednesday evenings. And you're looking at it on Wednesday afternoon. How do they know that? Well, they don't know. It's not calibrated to real time. They're guessing. They're guessing based on every Wednesday for the last 2-3 years of how many people have traveled to that restaurant and arrived with the directions at that time. So they're just aggregating all the data that they possibly have, which is not much. Because maybe it's raining today and maybe there's nobody really there. Or maybe there's a private party right now going on in that restaurant and it's jam-packed. You have no idea. Google has no idea. So real-time data is very much coveted by the big tech companies because everyone just wants to know what's happening now. I don't care what happened last week. I don't care what's happening next week. I want to know what's happening right now. With the Dor Traffic Miner in key locations, this is now possible. So the data, where it's going to be bought and sold from is that Constellation will be putting forth a data exchange where this data is being sold and then it's being purchased again by maybe a hedge fund who wants to know data on this zip code or wants to know about on this street, or a real estate company that wants to understand what the foot traffic is over here. That data can get sold and resold and you will be compensated for it. If you were going to design a Web3 infrastructure, it would need to be feeless, which DAG is. Most of these other cryptos, they're not feeless. There's always gas fees. They'll say, oh, there's cheaper gas fees. We solved the Ethereum problem. We'll charge you less money. We'll charge you 30 cents per transaction. And everyone goes, wow, look at the innovation. It's a joke. Who the hell's gonna pay 30 cents to send a text message? Nobody. Big data is moving billions of data packets every millisecond. They don't have time for gas fees or network congestion issues. DAG is light years ahead of this space. It's on the cutting edge. And there, even these other cryptos that are somewhat advanced, they're nowhere near the ingenuity of what Constellation has built. And if you look very closely at Web3, you'll realize nothing in your life is on Web3. It's just a buzzword. Oh, we're gonna own our own data. Oh yeah, how? Where? Do you own your own data? No, you do not. And the reason is because there's no infrastructure. There's no rails for it. There's no network that can host this idea of Web3 until now. The Constellation mainnet is going to be released this summer and it's going to move markets. The crypto space will be caught off guard that this was under its nose the entire time, and the non-crypto space will be rushing in with liquidity because DAG can do things that no one else can do. DAG can be running on every single device on the planet. 32 billion devices at the same time, simultaneously, and you know what it would do to the network? It would make it faster. It would make it cheaper. It would make it even more secure. You can't do that with any of the other cryptos that are out there right now. No one's claiming that they can do that. They're all trying to figure out how to get to 200,000 transactions per second. Who cares about transactions? Transactions through the DAG lens is simply data packets. It's just data. So while these other cryptos are trying to figure out how to validate a transaction, DAG has already solved that and has leaped over that and is able to take any complex data type from our real world, move it into the blockchain world, and then interchangeably and do the reverse as well. So it is the network of our future. It is the biggest and largest innovation and the most enormous implications here because it's going to give rise to brand new industries. Look very, very closely at companies that are building on DAG's Hypergraph, because DAG attracts A+ projects that are about honest data for a connected future, which is DAG's tagline. Data is so valuable that there are so many hedge funds who buy data. They want to know how many people are walking through a mall, real estate investment companies. It's very valuable for landlords of commercial buildings to understand the foot traffic of who's coming in, when, what time. And then think of hospitals. Data saves lives in hospitals. How many people are coming through the emergency room at this and this time? And then data in aggregate can be used to facilitate, to save lives. Like, oh, it turns out that on full moons or on rainy nights, there's a lot more or a lot less people coming into the emergency room. Hospitals can make decisions based on what they know about foot traffic coming into their buildings. And so data is often seen as like a side effect of what we're doing. Oh, I need more data on my phone plan. I need more data. Like we're generating data every time we use a digital device. Data is people say data is the new oil. Data is far more valuable than oil. Oil, when you use it, there's no more left of it. Data, when you consume it, guess what? You just generated more data because you just consumed data. So now there's a new timestamp of when you just checked in with something. So it is an incredibly exponential growing digital asset class built around big data. Years ago, I read an article that hedge funds would look at through satellites at shopping malls to see how many cars were parked in the shopping mall to determine if they should sell the shopping mall or determine if that was a good space to innovate in their shopping mall, because they were trying to figure out, are people visiting and how often and what days of the week and how many cars are there? Well, you don't need to count cars from space if you have a little device on the door that's counting traffic. And it's anonymous. Nobody sees your face. There's no cameras. It's literally measuring body heat. People walking in, people walking out. And the Dor Traffic Miner will be giving out bounties. So if you can figure out a way to put it in a place where there's more and more foot traffic, guess what? You're going to make more and more money. We are going to see some of the biggest innovation in crypto happen in the next few years, and DAG will be the rails of it, because there's no other crypto that can do what DAG can do. It's proprietary in that sense. Nobody else can do it. It's unprecedented, unrivaled, unparalleled, never seen before technology. So much so that these last few months, talking to people about DAG, and especially in the crypto community, there are different pools of people. Some people who are not into DAG, when I push them for why, they simply don't believe it's possible. They don't believe it's true. They've been conditioned to believe that the bigger a network gets, the slower it gets. It's hard for them to wrap their mind around that the bigger the network gets, the faster it gets. Because if DAG is true, and it is, and if DAG can do what it says it is, and it does, then the implications are that most of the crypto space is headed in the wrong direction. Somebody's already solved most of the problems. DAG doesn't come out to try to solve the carbon footprint problem, but it does existentially. The Dor Traffic Miner uses a battery that you can change once a year. And besides that, the Hypergraph itself is emanating very little kilowatts per hour versus these other chains, which are generating tremendous amounts of energy. And the reason is because DAG is what's known as a needful consensus mechanism. In a sense, the network is always off until a node on the network comes on. Think of Bitcoin. It's always on. It's always on. And all the miners are looking at the top of the block. It's consuming so much energy. The DAG network works in something called a sleepy nodeful state. The beauty of DAG and the beauty of the Dor Traffic Miner is that it's building on all the innovation that's come before it. The idea of mining crypto, which has no actual intrinsic utility like Bitcoin and Ethereum, which gave way to Helium. Well, guess what? The Dor Traffic Miner is actually going to be on the Helium network. It will be connected to the internet through Helium miners. And so one thing builds on top of another, and it's important to look at where crypto is coming in to our everyday lives in order to determine which are the best cryptos to invest in. Because the cryptos solving crypto problems are not really the ones of the future. Those are just minuscule, simple. and they don't really have utility outside the crypto world. So look closely. DAG is making major moves. The markets will respond, and the price of DAG will increase significantly and exponentially. This is not a regular crypto. This is not something like Bitcoin or Ethereum. It is vastly superior in every which way. It's the only true layer 0 protocol on the planet. There is no other crypto that can do what DAG says. There are some that claim to be layer 0, but when you look closely, they're not interoperable with any complex data type. They're just interoperable with each other, like Polkadot. And you got to look carefully also at the branding at these other cryptos. Polkadot is paying for the Web3 Foundation, and they're trying to associate their brand with Web3. That's all fine and well, but they're not feeless. They can't operate on every device on the planet. They can't do the things that Constellation can do. So no matter what anyone else is saying in the crypto space, do your own research. Look into this. Look into the teams that are building. Look into the technology and use your imagination of where it can take humanity